So thanks for the invitation. I'm François Bally from INRIA Montpellier in the CAMIN team, and I will talk today about human-in-the-loop algorithms for assistive devices control. So just a bit of context, because you already yesterday see the presentation of Christine, and we work in the same team. So our team is located in Montpellier, and we are focused on the design and development of realistic neuroprosthetic solutions in the context of sensory motor deficiencies. And one feature of the team is that our work covers like a numerical simulation up to experimental clinical trials. And so we are a bit in the middle of all of that. And I want quickly to introduce my presentation today to talk about the Agilis project. And I will be quick again because Christine already talked about that yesterday, but I maybe will talk about it more from a biomechanics and robotics perspective. So this project is a good illustration of what we aim at doing, because it's translational research in neurophysiology, robotics, and informatics, driven by clinical application. And the target population is people with quadriplegia, which consists in complete cervical spinal cord injury, resulting in a paralysis of all four limbs. And we are specifically interested in movement restoration in the upper limb, and specifically the hand, because it's a factor of autonomy and improvement of quality of life. So one of the tools used by the team is the functional electrical stimulation, and I will go quickly on that because I think you already know about that thanks to Christine. And the particularity of the upper limb at the end is that the movement is mainly provoked by the action of three nerves in the arm: the median, ulnar, and radial nerves, which innervate all muscles responsible for hand and wrist movements. And these nerves are organized there is a topological organization of the nerves inside of the fascicles inside the nerves that we will try to use thanks to the technology that is long developed by the team and the partners of the team, which is the multi-contact cuff electrode, going along with an application-specific integrated circuit developed by the Norinov company, with which we work a lot and closely. And this work, this strategy of stimulating the nerve with a cuff electrode has proven to be efficient in a previous clinical trial, namely the Agilis project that I'm talking about in this slide. So a bit more from like biomechanics and robotics perspective, the project is, beside the clinical application, is also a complex sensor and software environment, because we have a lot of things going on. So first, there is the question of how the users controls the neuroprosthetics. And we have for that several sensors that can be used, like voice control or voluntary contraction detected by electromyography. We have also all the implanted functional electrical stimulation parts with in this project with a desktop stimulator and implanted cuff electrode. But we have also technologies to assess the movement that is evoked by the stimulation, such as motion capture. And we have here several modalities that we try to acquire: kinematics, muscle activities, and also forces produced by the stimulated muscles. So here are some results from this first clinical trial, where you can see a user grasping several objects thanks to the command of the implanted functional electrical stimulation. So the conclusions and prospects from this first project, so actually it's not the first, but from this project, so it was demonstrated that multi-contact cuff electrodes brings selectivity and permits functional movements. The patients that were involved in the clinical trials and the medical team are convinced by the technological solution. And so now in the team, we are working towards the first in-human fully implanted neuroprosthesis in the framework of a European project that is going on. And the question that I wanted to present today are more prospective research questions related to this ongoing work. and I want to explore how to move from sequential control to more intuitive interaction with the neuroprosthesis. And there are two research axes hidden in this question. The first one is how to delegate part of the control to the assistive device. And this requires a model-based controller, and thus a good enough model and measurements. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the first thing that I want to present is, can we develop real-time estimation control algorithms accounting for the dynamic complexity, variability, and multi-scale nature of the human body? I want first to talk about a piece of software that is used a lot in the simulation that I'm going to present, which is called BioTeam. So it's a Python package designed to perform optimization-based musculoskeletal simulations. So the main idea is to be able to have a good biomechanical model with muscles, eventually even a neurological simulation of the movement, and to be able to compute optimal trajectory of states of the model and also of control to drive the models towards a specific behavior, like making it move the way you want, or also to integrate experimental data into the model and to perform optimization on top of that to retrieve the motion that was made by the system. So it's designed to be user-friendly. It means that there is a Python interface and running C code inside, and the idea is that in a few lines of code you can start to have your first optimal control simulation with a musculoskeletal model. It can get a bit nastier if you want to do more specific things. So now that I have introduced this tool, real-time muscle force parameter estimation is a big challenge, because if we want to run simulations, we need to have, as I said in introduction, good enough models, and good enough models goes along with good parameters of the models, and this is a real challenge in biomechanics to identify these parameters, especially muscle parameters. So the first work that we made is to provide an algorithm able of making real-time estimation of muscle forces using electromyographic data, because the state of the art at the moment was to estimate the muscle forces from the inverse dynamics of the movement, so using basically the external forces. But this method does not capture the muscle activity information, and we used some muscle activity and made data fusion with kinematics from a motion capture system to have an optimal framework in which the two type of modalities are fused and give are blended into the same result. And we were able to run that in real time on so first in simulation on a model with 20 plus muscles and 6 degrees of freedom. And then we were also able to validate that experimentally. So you have someone moving on the right, equipped with electromyography and also filmed with a motion capture system. And in real time, the optimization algorithm is able to retrieve the kinematics of the movement, which is the skeleton with the blue points moving, and also on the left, the different muscle forces, which are optimally computed in real time and which explain the movements that we are seeing on the right, based on an underlying biomechanical model. And so one nice feature of this type of approach is that we are able to estimate the activity of deep muscles that we are not able to measure with surface electrodes. And we can compare to literature values to see that the muscle activation that we retrieve is relevant with regard to the movements that is being performed, even though we do not directly measure this muscle. And so the next part of this work, which is an ongoing project, is to calibrate the musculoskeletal model using experimental data and to retrieve some of the muscle parameters that are relevant to have a tailored model to the user specifically the maximum isometric force of the muscles and also the optimal fiber length, to have a model that explains better the data which we are able to acquire in a biomechanical labs. So now shifting a bit from these projects, as I said, in the Agilis project, we are trying now to think ahead of what could be the control of neuroprosthetics in the future. And we want to work towards seamless collaboration with assistive devices. So this is the work of a postdoctoral researcher that is between INRIA Montpellier and INRIA Paris, Etienne Moulet. And Etienne is he's working on a grasping movement intention estimator. And the idea is to use is to have a device and the user that can interact in a more fluid and intuitive way. And we want the device to be able to interpret the user's behavior without requiring any dedicated or stereotypical action, such as the one used in the previous movies that I show you, where the user should move the contralateral shoulder or speak or do whatever. Here, the idea is to have a kind of automatic collaboration between the device and the user. And for that, we use several technological bricks, such as deep learning network to retrieve the kinematics of the hand, and also a deep learning method to retrieve the geometrical features of the environment. So, for instance, the 6D poses of objects in the environment. And the idea is to, based on the analysis of the kinematics of the initiating movements of the user, to predict the time of impact with the object and the type of grasp that should be selected by the object. And we conducted an experiment and recorded more than 2,000 video trials to calibrate the algorithms. And now the next step is, before being able to use this type of algorithm with implanted patients, is to test this algorithm in a virtual reality with quadriplegic patients to see whether they can interact well with the algorithms, and also to tune this algorithm so that they have a good success. And we believe that virtual reality is an interesting tool for us to help participants in the clinical trials project themselves into the experience of using neuroprosthesis before having it implanted. And yeah, we want to evaluate several control modalities within this framework and to see whether the personalization of the biomechanical model can help the embodiment in VR. And to conclude this presentation, I will talk about the work of another postdoctoral researcher in the team, Tiago Coelho, which is actually from Brazil, and he holds a PhD from UFMG. And what we are trying to do with Tiago is to use a physiological muscle model inside musculoskeletal predictive simulation. So a bit of the same type of problem that I talked in the first part of the presentation, model predictive simulations, but we want the muscle to be able to respond to electrical stimulation. And we want also the muscle to capture more of the physiological phenomenon that occurs when a muscle is electrically stimulated, specifically the calcium dynamics. But this type of models are not developed to be used in optimal simulation with numerical optimization, etc. So we had to make quite a lot of adaptations to be able to run that type of model. And so the first result that we have is that we are able to, for instance, retrieve the torques produced by the muscles from a person on a isokinetic dynamometer, such as displayed on the picture, meaning that we are able to retrieve some of the muscles parameters and also track the torque that is produced using the numerical model, which is a good first step towards using this kind of model to, for instance, choose the specific stimulation patterns which are calibrated for one person, and to optimize the use of FES to generate motion. Okay, thanks. I will be quite a bit quicker, in fact. So this last slide is about the collaboration that we conduct with the associate team we have with UFMG, and Professor Enrique Rezende Martins, which works at UFMG. The idea here was so a pilot was going to participate in the Cybathlon competition, and the Brazilian colleagues came to France to train their pilot before going to the competition. And it was for us also a possibility to make some measurements on the pilot, and to try our first optimization algorithms to retrieve some optimal stimulation patterns from the biomechanical data that we are able to acquire. And you can see also Thiago here, the postdoc working on this project. So yeah, that's it for me. That's the team working on the several projects that I mentioned. And thank you for your attention.